What I teach people when they're really having those intrusive thoughts, they can't stop thinking about someone. They literally are doing that mental constant replay of hurts, hangups, all that stuff. It is helpful to put your hand on your governing vessel, which is like your pineal gland, and your highest chakra is above your head. That's what people don't get. They think it's in their body, but it's actually your spiritual realm.
Welcome to episode 8 of Get Unstuck with Lindsay podcast, where we get unstuck on purpose and the topics vary. So Chelsea and I met last time and we had so many topics that we wanted to cover, and I think we covered one. So we're back here together, and I have our topics that get us so excited and that we really wanted to cover together. And I'm going to see if I can be a really good manager of our time here together for our sake and then also our listeners, because these are things we're really passionate about. And you and I can talk about them for hours. But then when someone asks, like, what is that? Or it's like, we want to take all this information and condense it and help it make sense. But really what we end up doing sometimes is taking a ton of time to explain something when really we could have just been done with it already. Yeah. And so I kind of want to just preface that this discussion is not for people who need to or want to be convinced about things like the shape of the earth or energy healing, or if it's biblical. This is going to be for a lot of the girls who have, like we have, been on one end of the spectrum, right? For you, it was like big pharma. I wasn't as big pharma as you were, but I sure, took anxiety meds and thought that God wasn't enough. And then we've swung clear to this other side where, for me, like muscle testing became a big thing, energy medicine, a lot of really, quantum physics, really understanding what that is. But then there was also a lot of problems in that for me too, because it's also where a lot of people try to make money and they're just humans, right? And so we've both kind of swung, I think, in these directions to land where we are today. Maybe we'll keep swinging a little bit, but it's more like, this hasn't worked, that hasn't worked. And I really always think that the truth lands somewhere in between two extremes. And so I just kind of want to say, anybody who's like, well, is that biblical, or where in the Bible? We have some really cool information on that, but we're not going to try to prove anything. This is for the girls who don't need to be convinced, have already gone on their own journey from swinging in all these directions and have learned, hopefully, that we cannot put our health, mind, body, spirit in any one practitioner's hands. We can't put that in anybody's hands. We have to reconnect with God, reconnect with ourselves. Everything is about really know who God created you to be, stand as the one true person that you are. And then there's a lot of really cool tools that we can use to bring our body back into balance, both physically and emotionally. And these are going to be some of them. And these are pretty much like what you and I have landed on being our most powerful, most used tools on a regular basis for the girls we work with. The only thing I'm leaving out today is tapping, because everybody always hears me talk about tapping. There's plenty of places to get information on that. And then of course you have a lot of tools you're not sharing today, but these are the ones that we really wanted to cover. So I'm going to see if I can kind of keep us short here, although we'll see. So the first one we wanted to talk about was breaking soul ties and giving energy back. This one's so quick, and I wanted to walk you through it because you had somebody in mind that you wanted to break soul ties with, and you don't have to say it who they are if you don't want to, but we'll just practice. You could even make up a name if you want to, but I really want girls to see, not just teaching about this, but what does this actually look like when I'm sitting with my clients for that rapid shift. So breaking soul ties. For me personally, I also asked the question, is it biblical? If you look up on the Google, which I know we're not all Google has all the answers, but if you just Google soul ties and if they're biblical, you're going to get yes, it's fully biblical and here's how and why. And then you're going to get people who are that's just a new age, blah, 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 which we need to touch on new age, for a second. So 2 scripture verses that I just appreciate to help support the idea of soul ties, which is really just the idea of, for me, I think of it as when you had premarital sex with somebody and you're no longer in a relationship with them, you're tied to them. If God created sex to be a tie and a bond where 2 people become one, then why would we think that we're not somehow tied to people who we slept with or made? It's even promises you've made to them. It's word curses, so that kind of stuff. Our soul is our humanity. So to understand the difference between soul and spirit, the soul is our humanity. It's what makes us feel emotions. It's our mind, heart, will, and imagination. It also includes our thoughts, desires, passions, and our dreams. So our spirit is our deeper connection with the Lord when we believe in God, and also involves the concept of those things in relationship to him. I don't know if you have a different definition of spirit, but understanding the difference between mind and spirit is pretty important. 2 different verses. And it came to pass when he had made an end of speaking unto Saul, that the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. It says in scripture that their souls were knit together. So like that would point to the idea that you can have your soul knit with somebody. And usually, especially because a lot of the time we're talking about breaking soul ties has to do with when there's been a sexual soul tie. Of course, like sexual soul ties are made in love or in the thought of love with our feelings, right? Our humanity, our mind, our will, that's our soul. Another verse is Matthew 18:18, where Jesus says, I tell you the truth, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. So this speaks to the idea that we have the authority to break ties through prayer. So those are just 2 verses that helped me in my journey of trying to understand if they're biblical. But more than that, is there fruit that, like there's a lot of tools out there, spiritual and physical, but I always ask people, like, did you notice a benefit? Was there fruit from it? Did you feel better afterwards? Like what kind of shifts take place after you've broken soul ties with somebody? So that would kind of be like for, I don't even want to say it's like our Bible believing girls or our Jesus followers, because Jesus is here for everybody, even those who don't know who he is yet. So there's power in his name and healing in his name, right? Like that's the whole message of the Bible. So any girls who might be listening who think, well, I'm not a Christian, can I pray something in the name of Jesus? Yeah, please do, because there's nothing more powerful than the name of Jesus. But then on the other side, we have this like 5 facts or breaking off energy with somebody. So this would be more like not spiritual at all, but breaking soul ties, this is going to weave in and out of that. So this is kind of, I might break soul ties with somebody. I might go through the 5 facts and energy breaking with another person. And they can be used together or separate. It doesn't matter. I just want to touch on it because it's something you can do on a regular basis going out throughout your day. And then we're going to talk about your energy separation prayer. So I want to kind of like boom, boom, boom. They're going to be 3 different things that can all be used separate, or we can wrap them up together. So breaking soul ties is very quick and easy. However, there is this part of it where what we're really doing is like giving back to somebody what belongs to them and taking back what belongs to us. So that means if God designed us to be a woman on this earth who was protected, for example, like protected by men, because we are designed to be protected by men. And let's say a man didn't protect us and in fact harmed us, that taught us something different than God designed us to believe. So we're really saying, hey, like I'm going to get the abuse that man put on me or the lack of protection, I'm going to get that back to him. That's not mine to carry anymore. And I'm going to stand in the truth that I am worthy of being protected. So this kind of goes all the way into like people's sin. And like a man who didn't protect a woman is sinning. And so their sin essentially gets on us. And so we're breaking that soul tie that in their sin, they cause us to believe a lie about ourselves. So you can take like this really quick soul tie severing, and like make it quick. But I've had 2.5-hour sessions where we start with the severing soul ties and then we don't drag it out, but it ends up being like a 2-hour thing because we're going through and giving back every single choice, action, whatever that was placed onto them by that person. So it ends up being a really long, sweet journey of tapping and soul tie breaking and forgiveness and all those good things. So can you just like throw a name at me and we'll just use you for an example here, see how quick it is?
Yeah, let's do Frank.
Okay. So I always will have my girls, like, I just like holding my hands open, like I'm in prayer. You do whatever feels good for you. And I just want you to repeat after me. It's exactly how I have people do it. I sever any and all unholy and unhealthy soul ties between myself and Frank. Okay. I give back to Frank every unholy and unhealthy thing
every unholy and unhealthy thing
that belongs to him.
that belongs to him.
Mm-hmm. And I take back from Frank.
Say that again. Sorry.
I take back from Frank.
And I take back from Frank
everything that is mine.
everything that is mine.
I wash all of this in the precious blood of Jesus.
I wash all of this in the precious blood of Jesus.
Yeah. Take a nice breath, blow it out. So that's an example of like how quick it can be. Just in its simplicity. Why don't you share your part, your energy separation prayer, and then we'll go into the 5 facts.
Yeah. So mine, I mean, not that different, right? It doesn't really matter your posture as long as your heart space is in the right spot. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm personally like, that is a great posture. Mine is very similar. So, when I'm working with someone, and I'll just add that, like, I know we think of like sexual sin and sin, but with soul ties, codependency is the big one. Like making someone an idol in your life. You can soul tie to your own children. You can soul tie to your own husband, your parents. I do a lot of work between parents and children in my family. Even I'm talking grown people, like grown children and their parents, in my practice, because so often, like if our parents were not, they're flawed humans. If they were not working in that real created dwelling of the Lord and really giving their kids to God, then they were controlling our lives and they were the idol in our lives and they were God. And so in that dysfunction, we as a child learned that codependency was the only way to our parents, not to God. So that's just the really most interesting thing. So what I do is, if you want to do the prayer, you can. Do you have somebody, or else I can just demonstrate? So you tell me if you want to demonstrate. If I'll do it, and I can help you do it.
And we say their name, right?
Yeah, you say their name. So
you demonstrate, because it's going to take me too long to even think of someone. So you demonstrate.
Yeah. So and you can do this. Again, it's a posture thing. At first, you might want to go through the act, but now I'm so like working in this all the time that this is like a silent thing for me. Like I can do it silent. But what I teach people when they're really having those intrusive thoughts, they can't stop thinking about someone. They literally are doing that mental constant replay of hurts, hangups, all that stuff. It is helpful to put your hand on your governing vessel, which is like your pineal gland, and your highest chakra is above your head. That's what people don't get. They think it's in their body, but it's actually your spiritual realm. So basically, it's your Christ-like state. So you take your hand and you put it between your eyebrows, and you want to rub as much of your hand like open palm as possible, because that hits all your energy meridians, including your gallbladder and liver, 10A, which is where you store anger in your body, and your lungs, which is down the center of your head, which is where you store grief. And then your governing vessel is the very center point of your head. It also happens to be where babies have soft spots when they're born. So it's really, really fascinating. And who doesn't like to have, if you question this from an energetic standpoint, you feel good when you get your head rubbed. We smell babies' heads. We rub babies' heads. Like, I'm like, that is, from an energy standpoint, you innately know this. So this isn't something that you have to just be like, whatever, that's witchy. Like, it's like you innately can just see that the body craves this behavior, and that's enough, right? So for me, that's what, when I was really working in legalism, and my naturopath brought this to me because I did not make this up. He was like, forget that. Do you think it feels good? And I'm like, yes. So I just want to preface that. So you put your hand on your head, as much of your palm as possible, and you say, Jesus, and you go from your head to the very back of your skull where those occipital bones meet. And you say, Jesus, show me how to love Frank unconditionally and release him with forgiveness. And you literally like, can't do it with a claw clip in, but you like rub your own head. Like you're like, Jesus, show me how to love Frank unconditionally, release him with forgiveness. I deserve peace, love, and harmony. That's releasing you. Then you want to be like, Jesus, show me how to love Frank unconditionally and release him with forgiveness. He deserves peace, love, and harmony. And that's it. That's like just Holy Spirit, reveal the true nature. That's like the prayer that you can do. And what it is again, it's a brain training exercise and a neuro prompting. And the way that I explain this to people is Jesus in the Bible, God, it's either God or Jesus. It's somebody. I'm not a scriptural whiz, but I think it's Jesus. They're one and the same in most contexts. You're going to be like, this girl's getting off track. But we're asked for a renewing of the mind in the Bible. So when you do that act, you're neuro prompting. So you're renewing your mind. And when you renew the mind will communicate with the rest of the body to calm down. So That's called your governing vessel for a reason. That's what governs your central nervous system. So you feel calmer when you're doing that act. So the act isn't the idol. The act is like, how do I get calm enough to open a pathway to even try to forgive this person? Because so often, you know, you can't even imagine that, right? You're like in your daily life and you're like, there's no way. And you're like, forget those words. There's no way. So
absolutely, which makes perfect sense, because anyone who knows the tapping thing, it's like, oh, it's like, no, like you're actually sending a calming signal to your subconscious so it can relax, so that things can shift. So this is cool, because thank you for that. Because that would work lovely standalone or along with the soul ties. So then I want to throw the 5 facts at us really quick, because this one's a little different. And the first time I did it, I think it's cool too, because I am a Jesus girl and I do love all this stuff, but my thoughts were entangled with somebody one night. They were asking way too much of me. And I actually didn't even really know how to respond to them. And I don't normally have a hard time falling asleep. I really worked on being in the present moment, and I can go to sleep and know that like whatever's today was today's, whatever's tomorrow's. And I was just like, couldn't stop thinking about, I can't believe she asked me that. I can't believe she expects this of me. I can't believe, like, and I don't know what to say to her. And there's also like so much history with this person. And I had just learned, let's see, you know, I always forget her Instagram handle, but I will try to drop it here. Through her account. And it's just these 5 facts you list between you and a different person that are different. So I'm going to pretend like, I'm going to use Frank as an example, just to make this really quick, to show you girls how fast you can do this on your own. Whereas when I'm leading someone else through it, it's sometimes people get confused on facts versus opinions. So this isn't like, Frank is totally emotionally incapable, but I am totally emotionally grounded. Like, these are facts that any person would agree with. And so you can think like, you can add this onto soul ties, add this onto what you did. I love it when it's just people notice that they're getting entangled with somebody, especially for my girls who really have maybe been injured by the church and just are trying to find their way back to themselves and aren't ready for like prayer or Jesus yet. You know, this is a really great, like, energy severing, but really what we're really doing is we're telling our subconscious that person is that person and I am this person. And it just helps that, like, especially HSPs, like highly sensitive people, empaths, right? And that entanglement for your brain just go, oh, they're over there, I'm here. We don't need to be like this right now. And that night that I put this into practice, I was like, well, I'm just going to try that 5 fact thing I learned. I didn't like pray about it or like sever soul ties. Like, I just was like, huh. And so this is how it would sound. Like, I'm just making this up. Okay. But Frank lives in Utah. I live in California. Frank has brown hair. I have blonde hair. Frank is 45. I'm 35. Frank drives a big truck. I drive a small car. Frank is married. I'm not. Okay. Like, it's that fast. You're just going through and listing facts that are different between you and this person. Take a deep breath, move on. That's it. Like, the shift I felt after doing that, I was like, oh, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and add this to like the main toolbox, because I didn't care after that. And I just fell asleep. Like, I didn't have to tell myself not to care about it. I just fell asleep. In fact, the next day when I did decide to respond to her, it was a really, like, I was like, oh, that was really good. I'm really impressed that I was able to like just say what needed to be said. So that is just the 5 facts, which when we're severing soul ties, right? Like, I give back to Frank anything and everything, like any unholy and unhealthy thing that belongs to him. We're really saying like, that's theirs and this is mine. So this is just a fun, like, subconscious way too. Any questions about mine?
No, I mean, I love that. I think just to add to that, because I mean, I have so many neural prompts that aren't prayer, but if you believe that God's always pursuing us, then it doesn't really matter, right? That's just like the legalistic version of the church, which I'm happy to say that. But like, just, you know, knowing, and that 5 facts is so handy for just, again, neural prompting your body to sever energy, like something that I do in the moment too, when I'm like, literally, because there are people in your life where you need to sever your energy, but you don't need to sever your soul tie. So I'll give one example. My ex-husband, I don't need to bring him into my marriage. I don't need to bring him and his dysfunction, but I don't need to sever that soul tie, because if so, I couldn't raise my kids with him with love. So like, that would be unforgiveness. So I personally don't believe that I need to sever his entire soul tie. That's just
no, just the unholy and the unhealthy.
The unholy and the unhealthy, right? So for me though, when those things feel very confusing, right? Which is like so rare now. Like you can literally just put your hand on your heart chakra or in the middle of your chest, which is like your heart in the Bible. You know, I say the word chakra, same thing. And you can say, I am Chelsea, only Chelsea. I'm safe being me. I love being me. And you can just prompt yourself to become your safety space. So then at that point, you're not, and I mean, it's really interesting because there's really no Jesus in that. There's no like, oh my gosh.
But there is.
But there is, because Jesus lives within us. We could get into that. But basically that just immediately is like, okay, so whatever he has said, insinuated, brought into my kids' lives, like whatever at the time, oftentimes it's in the moment, like, you know, I'm seeing his personality in them, you know, instead of screaming like, oh my God, you guys are just like your dad and letting it all trigger me. What's a common practice in my life is just like in the moment, just resetting my own energy to become mine. Right. And so I think it's like so powerful. The facts, I'm going to try it if I get into a space where it's like hard, because you just need that neuro space to open up.
Well, and also like going back to like the Romans, like scripture of renewing our mind, like if it says to renew your mind, that both means it's possible. And it's also a command to do it.
Yeah.
Listen to anything of Carolyn Leaf's, like she's the best, like brain scientist and believer, like anything of hers goes back to like renew the mind. And anything we focus on is going to grow. Right. But like coming back, I love what you said about like, I am Chelsea, like that is coming back to yourself. That's connection with yourself. Instead of separation and division, which is the enemy's biggest goal of him, right? And so that's just, I love that, just a moment of like, oh, I'm right here. And I want to piggyback that with the 5 facts. If I'm driving down the road and I'm happy as can be, and someone just cuts me off and slams on the brakes, and now I'm pissed. I probably don't know enough facts about that person, you know, to do that. And it doesn't matter, because this isn't like rules that we're trying to follow. These aren't idols, right? These are just things to remind us to come back to ourselves and not allow somebody else's sin or someone else's bad day to get in the way of what God has for us today. And so when that person cuts me off, I'll just take a deep breath and say, you know what? I give back to them whatever's theirs. Whatever that was theirs. It's not mine. And that's just such a simple way to like, that's theirs. This piece in my car driving my speed limit or whatever is mine. And that's a perfect time for the, like, I am Lindsay, you know, like this is my piece. Yeah.
It's really simple. I swear. People will say, but how? I'm like, stop right there. You just make a choice. Like we were given free will. You make a choice. You chase perfect peace over perfect chaos every time it works out. But it was really interesting. Like I know so many people, the real New Age has really set the heart in the forefront of Christianity, the Bible. They did on purpose, which is fine. It's very much part of that. But so I got very convicted of the Holy Spirit because my heart was damaged. I had a hole in my heart from childhood. And then, so if that's the case, then one would say that I was just broken and predispositioned to outside of the word of God. Right. So I was praying and asking the Holy Spirit for the truth and for revelation. And even though I was reading about all of the heart in the Bible, like guard your heart and all that stuff, and I get that, the way you do that is through renewing of your mind, because in traditional Chinese medicine, your mind governs everything in the body, and your mind is the higher consciousness. So it's like you study that and you'll be like, oh, okay, it's not that hard to get. So
yeah, it's our soul, right? Like our mind is our soul. So that's lovely. I just love that. Let's loop around to bioresonance healing. And I'm going to, this is a conversation you and I kind of started to get into. And then I was like, gosh, we need to just do a video because I want to share this with the women who I have in mind for this. And so I'm actually going to use real life people. So we'll just continue our discussion. I know that a lot of people by now, like energy healing, energy frequency, quantum physics, I mean, grounding, right? Like I just finally got my first pair of like earthing sandals, and it's amazing. You know, it's so cool because it's like I try to walk around our property all the time barefoot, but we have so many things that drop from the trees that it's like stepping on Legos, you know. So like just understand, like that's energy, that's frequency. Like we need the earth's vibration, and our God created us for that. Like this isn't that weird. Which when anybody, this is probably a good time, like new age. So like this is just new age and energy medicine and new age. could you just like give us your little brief like reminder to like put us in check here real quick when we're talking about New Age?
Yeah, so I'm not the expert, right, on all things. Like if somebody is looking
The truth
to,
is there's not actually like I read a whole book on New Age and like how people say,
yes,
and she's like, you can't define it. Like it's really just a made
no,
up. It's
it's
like
a marketing term.
it
Like if
is.
somebody is looking to me to be like, back this up with every part of the Bible, then what I would first and foremost recommend is every situation, you not one time, like, so just don't sit there and be like, okay, Holy Spirit, reveal everything to me about the New Age. I get that all the time. Like somebody on Instagram will be like, can you send me everything you know about how you found all of this information? I'm like, no, you need to pray and ask the Holy Spirit in all your instances to reveal the true nature. So that's what I started doing, was like, okay, what's the true nature of, my job? What's true nature of medication? Blah, blah, blah. So what's interesting is you figure out, first of all, in Revelations, it says, this is what convicted me. It says, all the nations will be deceived by pharmakia. So I'm like, that's obviously very relevant. It hasn't been mentioned very much in the modern church, which cracks me up. And so I'm like, why does the church have their name on the side of every healthcare facility in the world? So I'm like, that's so weird how they're co-branded, right? Now, my background is in advertising, so I'm obviously that stands out to me. So I'm like, okay. Then I'm like looking at God, just literally God and his environment and our planet and the trees and everything. And it's like, why would we reinvent the wheel, right? Like, why would we take something in its natural form? I'm not talking about making a tea or changing a compound. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. But why would we like take vitamin C and then suddenly like form from non-GMO corn and make it moldy ascorbic acid? Like, why would we do that? Like, so there's just questions that I think have very logical answers. And I think that you naturally just can see that once you're not under the idolization and the deception of the products. So for example, when I was on my antidepressant and SSRI, that felt so good to me. And I was like, whatever. If you mentioned a stone to me or chakras or any of that, I would have been like, no, new freaking age, right? Well, then I'm like, when was Rockefeller medicine and an antidepressant even invented, right? You can Google that. It was like 100 years ago. It was like very new age. So I'm like, oh, like we've all been deceived. Like this is the original planet. We were given the Garden of Eden. We were given the water. We were given all this stuff, the sun, the moon, the contained environment, all of it. And I started looking at how we have counterfeited the system. We've counterfeited the sun with LED lights. We've counterfeited the moon with well, that's a whole NASA combo. I won't get into that. We've counterfeited the moon with a completely different calendar system because there's a sky clock. Okay. So the moon kind of governs where you're at. We've counterfeited the zodiac. Like, and I'm like, okay. So what's interesting is you can take each individual topic that you perceive as new age. What I recommend, write them down and then see like what your view is, who told you that view? Because it's really good just to ask the next right question. Like, who told me this? Was it my church when I was 4? Was it my parents? Like, who was it? If God didn't tell you that, then you should probably ask God what the deal is, because there's
thank you so much. That's perfect, because the new age is the counterfeit, right? What the enemy
counterfeit.
And just because most,
you know what exactly,
you know what always got me, what's new age is showing up at a church and there being a pile of donuts ready when you walk in. Like that's new age. Like that's the counterfeit. That's the enemy saying, come to church, get a treat. Like it's just a lie, when really God's like, wait, hold on. Like, where did we lose the idea of like our body is the temple, we need to love it, protect it?
Well, so, if we want to get into that, I mean, this is true hilarious. Where in the Bible did you ever see Jesus go into a building and preach and access the Holy Spirit and get baptized? Where did you see that? Like, I have not seen that. If somebody wants to point it out, I'm not talking about the temple and him dispelling all that, but he was throwing people out of the temple. Like, if we're really honest, it's
and if you really go back, so like, I know now we're gonna pagan Christianity.
We're not going to tangent.
We're trying not to touch this. Pagan Christianity, though, I opened it up. It's really incredible. And Christianity in its natural, what Jesus was here to let the church be was the people. And the Christian church was the first church that didn't have a building. It was, we were removed from the building. And so if you had said to them, like, let's go to church, they would know what you're talking about. So like, we are the church. And that, like, even just a church building and having a pastor is counterfeit.
Yeah, we're the
all
temple.
Of that.
We are the temple. We have free access to Holy Spirit.
right. Like, but Christianity in the way it was formed was not designed to have a church building and was not designed to have a pastor.
No.
So like, that's where I think I have so much compassion, understanding for like my own self, who was super duper Sunday Christian too. Cause I was like, what? Church is good. And we need our pastor. Well, having a pastor all those years to teach me things on Sundays prevented me from trying to learn on my own because I was weak. And so, really take what everyone who's listening, take what Chelsea said, like really ask where you heard this. If you heard this in church, okay, the church is also counterfeit. I'm not saying church people can't be good and there's not a lot of good. I'm saying all of it is under this larger umbrella of what's allowed to be taught to pastors and what's allowed to be taught in church. It's so sad. It's so sad how much we've been lied to. But then if we think about like how God created us, how he created our bodies, how he created us to interact with the sun, you were talking about like our food is supposed to be grown with the real sun, the real moon, right? We want our water to be perfectly structured with sunlight, with moonlight, all these things. And it's new age to go purchase food from a grocery store that's covered in chemicals.
Yeah,
I guess if I have
is
to
the ultimate.
I keep thinking about these women who are like, New Age is using crystals for healing. Okay, well, this morning my husband and I were watching a reel, and it was somebody took sand from different beaches and put it under a microscope.
Yes.
My whole body like relaxed with this. I could not believe how beautiful sand is and all the different types of crystals that are in the sand. And what we stand on the sand with our bare feet and we're grounded, like crystals. So I really I just want to say when the whole well, that's new age. I think it's just the idea, because I was there too. That's why you and I are allowed to talk about this, is because we've also been on the other side where we're like, no, is maybe somebody who, Christians saying this new age stuff, someone who's not a believer but really believes in the power of crystals that heal. That's where I think this new age thing is like, well, that person's looking to crystals for healing, when really, okay, well, that person is so close to the truth. They're so close to the truth because they actually know that those crystals have some value. They just haven't yet met their maker, the crystal's maker. And when they do, they're gonna be really mind blown. So they're getting close. So love the people who are close because they feel something we don't in this stuff. We all learn and feel differently. Like last time, we kind of pointed on this last time. So everybody go back and watch the first episode.
Well, this is what I find really interesting. If you want to start learning about vibrations, forget new age and all that. If you want to know how we communicate with God on a very cellular level, I mean, first of all, this is a really good book. It's just normal. It's 100 illustrated Bible verses, but every single one in there is talking, and the Bible all through it is talking about seeking water, getting baptized, singing to access the Lord. The Lord spoke and it was. How do vibrational sounds get to us? Have you ever been to a concert and felt your entire state change? That's stuff that people can logically understand. What's the book? Give me the title. It's literally it's from Hobby Lobby. It's just 100 illustrated Bible verses. But what's interesting is okay, all the verses in here, which I think is so interesting, is they're very good references for how God communicates in a vibrational state. Psalm 42, as the heart panteth after the water brooks, so panteth my soul after God. As you go to water, you feel God. Okay. Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and the Lord spoke, saying, I will sing, for he had triumphed gloriously. The Lord is my strength and song. So you access the Lord through vibrations. You guys you can figure it out. I want you to pray and ask yourself, but it's very, very interesting. It's everything talks about the ear, hearing the Lord, and the ear, and that's how we absorb. Ye shall have a song. I feel like the church isn't far off, but they again have counterfeited it. Satan has hijacked the music industry. We talk about vibrational waves and all that. That is definitely not new age. It's the original. It's how God designed the planet. It's just, we have been very disconnected from the planet. We no longer put our feet on the earth. We no longer sit in the sun. We block the sun. Pretty much everything that Big Pharma tells us to put on or around our bodies. And that's why all the nations are deceived by pharmakia. It's not just one shot or one pill. I want to be careful that people don't zone out after this. It's all of it. It's everything that these 6 companies that are owned by the same 13 investors have counterfeited and said to us that all ties back to big pharma. Everything that blocks you from God, from nature, is the counterfeit. So, I mean, it's pretty simple.
It is. Thank you. Which is New Age.
Yeah, and that's New Age.
And what we're trying to get back to is the original medicine, the original like way that God designed our bodies to function with Earth, and that's where people will call that New Age, like hippy dippy. And it's like, I owe a lot of apologies to my friends who were ahead of me on that, because I just thought they were weird hippies, and now I'm like, man, they had so much cool stuff going into their bodies when I was, wasn't. So. Yeah. We're talking about bioresonance.
That can bring us to bioresonance. Yep.
Yeah. We're talking about bioresonance. All that's important. And the reason being is because I'm in a position right now where I have so many lovely clients. So many women are dealing with extensive health issues that at this point I'm wondering, is there a healthy woman walking this planet? Can our bodies even be in whole health anymore due to all of the elements that are working against us? And so, when we talk about detox and we talk about getting healthy, it's like, I've done a lot for myself the last few years and I'm still not healthy. It's like, it feels kind of like a rat race, and it's very sad. But, I have a few practitioners who I love, I trust. But at the end of the day, I think, like, going all the way back to the beginning of this discussion, we really have to first get connected with ourselves, understand ourselves, learn ourselves, love ourselves, and also put our own health in our own hands. And if that means to try bioresonance, or try a practitioner, or try both of them together, or whatever it is, then I think that's great. Not to put all our eggs in one basket, and not to look to anyone else for our healing, but really learn to trust ourselves, because there's also that like obsession over the next tool, and people can be very obsessed with healing and with the tools and never actually heal because they're just obsessed with the next gimmick. So last night when we were talking, I was trying to think of a few things, and I want you to if bioresonance, which you'll explain a little bit, but you're like, man, like, hook you up to the bioresonance scanner, let's get a good like reading, and then let's see what needs to be treated, and then let's treat it. When you're saying that, I know what you're talking about to an extent, because I do understand energy and frequency. I also had an AO scan for a couple years. So a lot of people are familiar with an AO scan, where really it's kind of like reading your body's energy and frequencies through the tones of your voice sometimes, right? Yeah. And then you can find certain things, which that thing was pretty cool. Like there was a lot of information I got that was going on in my body that I wouldn't have otherwise known. And so for one of my girlfriends, she's dealing, I would say, like, so 2 people to kind of 3 people to kind of throw it. We'll just do these 2. Just to have in mind, this is what started our discussion. And I want you to help us understand, like, why would this be so powerful for all these different ailments? Okay. So one girl she's young, and I would imagine dealing with some insulin resistance type stuff. She's got cysts on her uterus that are starting to burst. So to me, that seems like certain diagnoses. But mom really wants to get help for her daughter. Her daughter's kind of like, I don't know, that doctor said get on birth control and I'll be all better. And we're like, no, like, we can't let this girl just get on birth control and be one more girl who's in that belief system. So then we have, let's say, middle age is I'm middle age now. So like, okay, but like middle age, 40 years old, has dealt with extreme stress, right? Yeah. Horrible ex, struggle being a single mom, sick family members, engaged, and then engagement got called off, moved across the country, came back, was always very physically fit, and then just gained a ton of weight, and now has like is eating unhealthy even, right? Like eating for comfort, drinking for comfort, knows the Lord, but having a really hard time holding tight, all this stuff. And so it's time for her to like move forward, find a practitioner, somebody who can really help her run the right labs or tests or do all the right things, get her moving her body properly, and so on and so forth. So I was like, okay, so Chelsea, how might you be able to help? Let's go with this 40-year-old first, since that might be a larger dynamic of who we're talking. How might you be able to help her? And she's also somebody who's like, she trusts me, but she's never done like energy stuff other than tapping. So how would you explain to that woman who's like, I know I don't want a doctor in a white coat, but what the heck is this bioresonance thing that's supposed to like read my body and then like somehow send frequencies to heal me?
Well, first of all, people get caught up in the reading. So, I mean, I turned someone down last night because she's like, the first question, she's like, how does it work? And I'm like, I won't explain that to you. There is a cannot walk into your doctor and get a damn CT scan and they will tell you how that CT scan works. You just won't find it.
That's why
let's just start there. Yeah. But I will tell you what bioresonance is. The reason why I won't do that is because you will again focus on the tool as the idol and not the fact of learning about what bioresonance really is. And then if you learn that,
I think I said it last time too, starting after, tell me why when I want my hand to move, it moves. Like nobody can explain how that works. We're just so damn used to our whole body moving when we pull it to. So like we have to get out of our heads. Like most of the things that we do in here is we don't really know how it works. It's just this sounds new age.
Yeah. Well, resonance. Okay.
So everything. What is it? How might it help support someone?
Yeah. So when you raise your resonance, everything on the earth in our contained environment is resonating. Okay. So your plant in your house is resonating. Your pool is resonating. Your streams and creeks and your Wi-Fi is resonating. All of it is resonating. As some people say, oh, one frequency is going to kill me, or I want to EMF protect. I'm like, that's great, but everything else is resonating, right? The ice cream you eat, it's resonating. Like everything resonates. So resonate just means what vibration is happening. Your emotions resonate. So fear is very low vibration, whereas, gratitude is a huge, high resonance vibration. So you first have to understand that we're resonating no matter what. The way that we could even access the Holy Spirit or the spiritual realm has to be through resonance, because we're separated by firmament. We're separated now. So that's the only way that we could possibly access that. The reason why I teach you about that is because when you do a lab work, well, let's say you're going to walk into your doctor on Friday morning and you're going to do a blood test, right? And look, I'm someone who was in allopathic marketing forever. For the people who don't have my background, I sold that over and over. I then went into functional medicine, which was like as a marketing person and then a patient, and then got into environmental medicine, which is basically removing all frequency disruption. And now I'm in naturopathy and a combination of that. So what is interesting is you pre-plan that lab work, you walk in. Depending on what just happened before you walk in the building, what you ate, if you fought with your husband, that lab work is going to change. So that's what people don't understand. They'll go in and they'll get a lab and they'll just be like, oh my God, yes, this lab showed I'm freaking sick. I'm like, yeah, but maybe you're not sick on Monday, 3:00, right? Because Friday, your environment was doing whatever, and Monday, your environment will likely be completely different. Now, are there some patterns if you're in your home and all that stuff? Yes. But a good example would be like, okay, if I had lab work scheduled for a Tuesday and I'm somewhere in my cycle, right? My lab work's going to change. If I had a trade show and hit a lot of Wi-Fi on the weekend or a dance competition, my lab work on Tuesday is going to be different than before that. So that's like, you are a living, breathing, minute to minute influenced body. So with what bioresonance is so cool in, and what I do specifically, is you're doing a scan. But then like AO scan, you're sending correctional frequencies back. The way that I practice is if somebody shows something acute, which is, like this girl who already has a cyst, that's very acute. That's obviously a toxin issue, because all tumors and that kind of thing are encapsulated toxins. That's like the crisis state. Then obviously that energy is blocked. It's been blocked for a very long time. It's not just blocked in the ovaries, it's blocked everywhere. So the bioresonance that machine that I use, which is called the Biophilia Tracker X4 Max, it will read all the way down to the mitochondrial level, which a lot of them on the market, including AOScan, will not. Those will not find parasites. They will not find certain things. It might say parasite, but it will not target where that parasite is. So it'll say like, oh, you're having a shingles flare, but it will not target what nerve channel that shingles flare is in. So I use that example because I had a vaccine injury and I flared with shingles around the time of my cycle. And then I did AOScan and that was productive, but it didn't heal me, because sometimes I'm not flared with shingles depending on my resonance. You know what I mean? So that's the most important part to understand. The reason why it helps people is because you're finding out every single piece of information that you could see in every single type of lab work, an MRI, a PET scan, you name it. That is what one scan can show you. So instead of spending $5,000, you can spend $240 and get an initial scan. The part that happens after is, we don't know, because what I like to do, what your doctor won't do, is they will not be like, okay, tell me about your home environment. Tell me about your relationships. Tell me about all that, because all of that changes your resonance, right? So when you have external factors that are stressful, and then you have internal factors that are stressful, and then you're trying to correct yourself with correctional frequencies, the goal is minimizing as much of that interference as possible. So this is why, like, I'm excited to work with this person, because she probably has interference. Do I know that until after the first scan? No, like, there's no way. I mean, I can tell you with their issues going on that they definitely do, or they wouldn't be having the issues. But like, what's so cool, and the reason we can access bioresonance scanning and see results completely virtually is because of this quantum black box, which I can share with you. Other devices don't have this. I just personally think this one's more powerful. You can still access correctional frequencies from other devices, just like you can get them from homeopathy or whatever else. Reason being, because we are in a contained environment, and we have a unique DNA system and a cellular energy system that is like a large Tesla coil. Like, our internal cells are like, they're, allopathic medicine would have you believe that they're like these just round little domes that are stacked on top of each other. And I can supply a really, really amazing podcast from a doctor that is really, you could put in the comments or something. But basically, our cells are energy sparking devices. They generate their own energy from God. So like, that they are relying on the input from God and from the environment to generate energy. It's why when you cleanse the liver, heart arrhythmias go away, or when you have colon stress, you have sicknesses. Like, when you detoxify the body, you see results, because when the body has less of a drawdown, your resonance is higher. So it's really interesting. It's really deep, but just know that the body, the spine, the chakras, the order of operations is like root to crown. So the more you can ascend through the levels of your body and get out of like that very heavy energy that's at the bottom and be like up here in this high resonance, that depends on what you're allowing in your body.
So I have some experience where other girls might not. When you send the correctional frequencies, I heard a definition once that I just like stuck to. So it's probably, you probably have such
probably better than mine.
No, it probably isn't. But how it was explained to me was so cool, because I remember a friend of mine who also is a trained nurse, but uses a lot of homeopathy, an AO scan. She's like super on that end of things. We had fires, like, for California, all these fires.
Yeah.
And she was just really struggling because she has so much chemical injury from the water that she drank growing up in the town that she lived in. And anyway, she's just really highly sensitive to everything. And I remember she was having such a hard time breathing. And she had just briefly taught me how to move energy into drinking water before that. And I was like, this is crazy. But I had played with it. I had seen results with it. And I said, wait, why didn't you make your frequency water yet? And she was just so overwhelmed and tired. She had completely forgotten how simple it was. And I went over, I grabbed her the water. She held it. We tapped on the glass cup with the water, and it, thinking about all the smoke. Her body has this smoke resonance in it, right? The frequency in it. She's touching it, and we're moving the frequency of the smoke into the water. And so then when she drank the water, the frequency of the smoke touched the smoke in her body and broke it up and helped her to detox it out. She felt better within a few minutes.
Yeah, because like cures like homeopathy, you're introducing the element into the body that you're having the struggle with.
Right. Which a lot of people still don't know that's even a thing. So for me, it just helped me to understand, like, we're not breathing in more smoke. We're creating the frequency, and a frequency that touches its own frequency breaks under certain circumstances. And that's all we were doing. So then my son got poison oak. I just want to give this example because it was me being like, I don't know if this water frequency thing really works, but he kept getting poison oak. And it was lasting like 3 weeks. I mean, it was horrible poison oak. And so I was like, buddy, and so we got this jar of water, it needs to be glass, and I had him just hold it, and we tapped on it just to move the vibration around. It's called succussing it, like really like shaking it up, activating that frequency. And he just drank that. That was just the water he drank that day. And then his poison oak was gone in 3 days, multiple times that he got poison oak. So I was like, well, I'm just going to keep tapping on water.
Like I'm convicted.
I was like, okay, this obviously worked. Because Kate, like I said, cool tool, cool trick, did it work? And so that's kind of, that's kind of what we're talking about, is like, it's really actually very simple. It's the same as when you go on Instagram. I don't have a cup. And a girl is like, speak love into your water and the frequencies of the water. And everybody's like, oh, okay. It's the same thing. Like you can speak to your water, the frequencies, and then like drink the water. So, so when you're saying like, you could scan this gal and then you would treat her, you're sending the same frequencies to her of the condition, and therefore then it breaks it.
Yeah. So you're sending what's called light photons. So it's interesting. We're given the sun as one of these big healers, and then God is very present in water. I seen that podcast by Isabella, right? So the reason why water works, there are frequency devices on the market like NES I almost use that you actually make water. You put water to the side of the like cradle, you imprint the water, you take the water, you mail people the water, they drink the water, and then they have that frequency. We don't even need that because this entire environment is contained and it is water. So literally we are living in a massive distillation process. That's why the ocean is salty. So minerals, believe it or not, come from the air. They come from the ether. That's why breatharians can survive. And it rains down, and then water distills up and leaves the minerals behind. Then the minerals get in our food, water, blah, blah, blah. When we eat, the reason why food communicates with our DNA is because we're getting the light frequency from the sun. Like, what do plants need to grow? Light and water. What is our human body made of? Light and water. So we mimic creation. So the reason why bioresonance works and is so powerful is because you're essentially using, I get chills when I say this, you're using God's like ether or connection communication system. I'm sure the word ether is going to be like weird for people, but you're using God's.
I've been hearing ether. I've been hearing the word ether so much lately. I had to like look it up, and my husband's like, "Because it's been put out in the ether." I'm like, "Okay, what?" Like the word ether sounds like put out in the ether.
I mean, it's just God's communication system, right? It's literally the way we are still accessing God. Because if you truly could not access God, like then we wouldn't have all this stuff that was successful. So like that's how it works. The reason why it communicates just to your DNA, like when I scan you and I send you corrections back, is because you have unique DNA. There's no one else like you in the entire world. So that's like this built-in innate system that the environment's already equipped with. So it's really interesting. And this technology is like widely known. I talk about this because believe it or not, they use it in medication. Like if you take a pill, if you take a Xanax, for example, if you can read like the side of the box, like if you take an ibuprofen, it's like 3% active ingredient. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and the rest is like filler so they can get in your body and go through the digestive system. Like, so that's frequency because they don't make like, so they do make higher doses of pills, but like that whole pill isn't ibuprofen. Does that make sense? So what's interesting is like, they're using that knowledge too. The reason why bioresonance is so freaking cool is because it's going to communicate with you on the very, very primal cellular level. Like if you take a pill, it's going to go through the digestive system. It's going to have to metabolize in the liver, and the body's going to have to deal with it. And then it's going to, depending on the condition of your colon and your liver and your gallbladder, and if you don't have one and all those factors, you're going to uptake that medication or that supplement a certain way. With bioresonance, you're just going to get it. You're just going to get the full strength and the power of it.
So I happen to have this right here. This is something a lot of people are going to recognize, right? Yeah. Because you can get this at CVS, Rite Aid, sometimes Walmart, health stores. Like this is just the frequency in a sugar pill. So like, right? Like here's your little sugar pill. Like anybody who, like, here's your teeny tiny little sugar pill that has the frequency of whatever, headache. So this isn't new, it's just that maybe we're used to seeing this on a shelf and buying it for a headache because it's natural, but what you're doing is the same thing, but without the sugar attached.
It is. And like, I mean, we can get back on the whole, like why someone would do a bioresonance scan specifically. So one, you can, for diagnostic purposes, it's a better option because you can diagnose yourself all the way down to the mitochondrial level. So where something attaches to you is going to be mitochondrial, DNA level, organ level, or like fascia level. Like we have all these levels and layers in the body. So you can't get that deep with most labs. You can't see like, oh, the reason why I have that cysts there is because my mitochondria is actually feeling stressed, right? So you can see that with a bioresonance scan. And that's handy for just your own general diagnostic and answers, right?
Then, yes. And so then if we're thinking about like, she could go see a health practitioner, which God bless them, love them, need them, use them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or she could try this. And what benefit might there be to going this route first?
So, I mean, you're going to save yourself crap loads of money for one, well, I should say that because I'm making myself sound really cheap, but you're going to save yourself time and money because there's different, like the way your provider practices, they have to follow certain protocols, right? They have to like do tests in an order of operations. The reason why it took me 2 years to find my heart problem and my ASD and my hole is because they had to do so many chest x-rays and I had to do so many ER visits and before I was ever referred to a cardiologist, right? To get the $3,500 echo because my age didn't make sense. My background didn't make sense. My minority status didn't make sense. That your doctor is following these rigid, ridiculous, chaotic structures to test you, for one. A lot of functional medicine has what they call a path to protocol. So that path means when you go in, you're getting stool tests, blood tests, right? It's like usually like for hair tissue mineral
analysis. And with this,
like,
we're just testing a person on the cellular level and then treating the things that are showing up.
Yeah. So with this, like you just don't have a path to protocol. You don't have any hoops. You can just get one scan. But now I will preface that by saying the one scan is good if you're looking for a diagnostic. I wouldn't say like, I'm going to go over every little part of that scan with you. Because it's not necessary. It's necessary for me to see what level you're dysfunctional at, find out why, and then the correctional frequencies to change the energetic resonance of the body, which how you do that is you do typically what we have found as doctors. We used to, when I first started consulting for doctors who had this system before I got trained, you used to be like, all right, you're muscle testing for like 8 corrections. And what would happen is someone would say, okay, you ran that one today. And they'd be stressing out about how they felt. And then they'd be like, did you run number 2? Did you run number 3? Did you run number 4? The body doesn't work like that because you're always in different environments, right? So what I tell people is when you're in this acute state, you usually need 8 to 10 days worth of constant intensive, or 2 weeks or 1 month if you have something like a cancer or something like that. I mean, I only really work with chronics, autoimmune, allergies, things like that, because that's what I'm comfortable with. But I have friends who I can refer if somebody were to pop up like a tumor or something. So, but that's the point. That's how most of the people I know who do bioresonance are using it. They're using it to understand where the resonant disruption is. And then from there, save people from systems where your supplements and all that take a lot longer to see results.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is what my practitioner did, because we did do a bioresonance scan.
Yeah, mine too.
We went straight through, got some answers. And then my protocol with her hasn't been like, it's been with other practitioners where I'm on 25 supplements, like
because there's no guesswork. What's really interesting is I was in functional medicine and so I got a path, right? Didn't show any parasites in my stool testing. I told you the root cause of all my stuff was one pancreatic parasite. Didn't find that until 2 years later. So, I mean, I took the 17 supplements. I did that. And then I'm like, that's not working. I'm like, it's kind of working here. It's not working over here. It was like, okay, well, now we can Lyme test. Now we can MS test. Now we can da-da-da-da-da-da. And then, $14,000 later on my credit card and almost getting divorced, I was like, this is not the way, the truth, and the life. This is completely chaotic.
So how about for a teenage girl who isn't where a lot of the adult women are, who are saying, I wish I hadn't been on birth control from a young age. I wish I hadn't been using toxic tampons or pads. Like if, when she sees you, give me like the idea of what this could, because you don't know what this is going to look like. You don't know how it's going to pan out. Like, just give me an idea, because I know you have an idea because you've had other people who have been similar. Give me an idea of what this process might look like for, because I would imagine to be kind of similar. Let's say another one of my girls has a autoimmune disease of her kidneys.
Yeah.
So what might they expect? Like, because I know that there's like this other whole world of like, cut dairy, cut gluten, cut this, cut that, exercise. Like, there's so many protocols that are beautiful. Like right now, like I'm finally getting my eyes on my insulin. Thanks to my practitioner, like I'm looking at it going like, oh, here's a huge issue that like I could help get a handle on if I do move my body differently, do eat differently. So there are things, but can you give me an idea of like what this might look like for these teenagers who really are having such huge sticky things, and the thought of like finding the right practitioner is overwhelming.
Yeah. So first and foremost, when you are a teen or a child, you're typically still under your parents' energy. Now, if you have left your father and mother's house, you've accepted Jesus Christ, you're aware of generational sin, all that stuff, then you may not be. But 9 times out of 10, children are like literally mimic of their parents, either mother or father. Most of the time, if a girl teen is having female problems, it's always mother. So now I say that to people and they're like, nope, that's not true. I have 2 moms right now who she's like, this doesn't sound like us at all. I'm like, okay, all right.
And I have to agree in the work that I do, whenever I do meet a mother and a daughter, or there's certain, right. It's like, okay.
I only work with women, so I can't speak.
But
men too,
no,
but
yeah.
But yeah, so
it's okay. And it's okay too. Like for any moms right now who are like, guess what? I'm going to be the first here of the 2 of us to say, I have been the problem for my children.
I have as well. I have been the reason for my 15-year-old's autoimmune disease. I had to take some accountability for that. She's fully healed, but she and I healed together. So.
Oh, I have generational sin stuff that like I didn't let it stop with me, and here's my kids, and I'm like, why are they dealing with the same stuff I do? Because I didn't do what I needed to do, which so like we here are saying like we are mothers and we have messed up our kids, but it's never too late. Like the cool thing is we're not perfect, and so to recognize where and two, I always said we always want to fix the problem, but we usually can't fix it especially as easily unless we are part of the problem. So when we're part of the problem, now we have a great solution is like, don't be the problem anymore, or repent or apologize. Right. But if you are part of the problem and you're not doing anything to like be humble and admit that and try to, you're now still part of the problem. So unless anyone here is perfect, we've all been our kids' problem. So I didn't want to be picking on too many moms here, but I do see, there's so much direct correlation. And two, it's easy for a mom and a daughter to be energetically, I say intertwangled because I made up that word, but especially like if the dad is a big problem and is overbearing and dominating over the mother and daughter, should mom be standing up to him? I don't know. Like, who are we to say she should or not? It might be dangerous. So then they're, like you said, like, I love that you said, like these children are under the energy of their parents. Also too, like socially, there's a huge social thing that's gone on, especially since COVID for teenagers. You
can work on family energy without conflict. I should say that, without conflict. So most people get afraid of that. They'll be like, I'm not ever doing that because I don't want to have that. It's all about you and what you can control and what you allow to affect you, right? I'm not like my kids, for example, I don't talk much about this, but I cannot control that they go to their dads. I can't control his personality type. I can't control these factors. I can control teaching them how they can control their body responses to those factors. So it's kind of like the same thing. So when I have like teens, I'll preface that by saying, the scan's great, it's diagnostic, because my practice is a holistic practice. And because a lot of providers, I think they will just milk it for all of its worth. I personally will oftentimes pull in all the agitators as a factor. Agitators meaning parental, people, environmental, all that. So, but on that note, to make it sound not overcomplicated, what you find with people, even the big scaries, big pharma has taught us that everything is this crazy different diagnosis. Like, oh my God, there's like 40,000 different illnesses. There's not. Like, that's a complete lie. For the most part, the body is energetically blocked. It responds. Your symptoms, the messenger. Even the stages that big pharma talks about, stage 1, 2, 3, 4 cancer. I hate that because I'm like, who defined that, for one? Also, they counterfeit and they know exactly what they're talking about. So like, for example, I have a little viral mole on my leg right now. If I went to, and I'm using black salve to detox it, if I went to a dermatologist, he'd be like, that's stage 3 skin cancer. I'm going to cut that off. You know what I mean? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, that's a thing. And I'm like, it's probably somewhere middle range crisis state, right? Like, I'm like calm, because I'm like, my leg is not falling off or needing to be amputated, and that cancer is not metastasizing because it's a stage something. Like,
and you didn't go get it cut off, which
hey, if that comes, I'll take it when it comes. So what I'm saying is like, we get really caught up into like what stage of the wellness journey we're in. So in my practice, I'm like, let's like start with a scan, see where we're at. And you find that a lot of people, this is what I found. A lot of people need the exact same back to basics strategy to allow their body to heal. So what I did is I designed a course called Habits That Heal. It's inside a membership, a private membership. And if you're working with me and you haven't met the 6 things on that Habits to Heal course list, that's your first step. You have to do it, or my bioresonance work will not work for you. It will work, but I don't want repeat offenders. Like, that's not what I want in my practice. I don't want somebody who's like 40 grand later, like, I have to be with you for 3 years. Like, that's codependency to me. I'm not interested in that. So when you work with me, like, I have that. And there's a very simple process to the body. It's like, get your light regulated, your light input, make sure that's okay. Get your water input regulated. So that's like, are you hydrated? How's your water habits? Blah, blah, blah. Get your emotional state regulated and become aware that emotions are stressors. Make sure that your toxin load is taken care of first and foremost, because if somebody's like liver is completely jacked up and you're trying to detox or heal a cyst or a tumor, there's no way in hell that tumor or cyst is going to leave because you're already over that toxin bucket. And then like the 5th one is get your food sorted. And I know it sounds like a lot, but like I have done it to where, and then the other one's your mineralization, because a lot of people, their base level depleted from 7 generations of birth. And if you're a mom, you're depleted with every kid. If you're a kid, you may be born depleted. Your firstborn gets your entire toxin load, and then each subsequent baby usually notice better health. So what's cool is like, there's a very simple, I think I told you about this, like mineral pack that sometimes I'll start with. Like, I'm just going over like the basics, because I have yet to meet one person who is not depleted and trying to go through a therapy, including myself. I mean, my depleted body with those 17 supplements that Functional Med gave me didn't even have the energy to metabolize those supplements. So I spent $4,500 in a waste of time. Like, I'm not saying that placebo or it didn't make me feel okay for a little bit, but it didn't heal me. It didn't cure the anxiety because my energetic state was so depleted that there was no way that was going to work. So now I have, first you repair your cellular resonance, and then in tandem we do bioresonance, but that's something you have to be open to, base level. And I'm very clear that if you're not open to that and you don't fix that, you can pay me all day long. I will take your money, but that's not the goal. I don't want you coming
That's not
back
the goal.
to me.
And you were
I don't want
saying,
you coming
like,
back to me and playing the victim, right? Like, you've been
like, we want to see women get well, and we also don't believe in wasting our time or anybody else's time or money. So so I appreciate that, because recently I thought, I have a client who wants to be a coach, and I said, could you please like be a like foundations/habit coach? Like, if all you do is teach people how to do the basics, like move their body, mineralize their body, right? Like, drink enough water and sleep 8 hours. Like, if all you do is hold people's hands and be their reminder to do these things regularly, like, that's all we need. Like, we really just need reminders to do the things we're need to do, right? Get enough protein, whatever it is. And then practitioners too. Like, if practitioners aren't encouraging people to get all their sleep, right? Track their us women track their cycles, get our minerals in, get our water, so on and so forth. Like, why are we even starting our protocol? So are you saying you would have clients get their food dialed in before doing a bioresonance scan?
Not before, but I would want them to have an understanding of how habits create disruption. So, I mean, hey, look, I don't have a perfect diet. Okay. It doesn't mean you're thrown off. I also don't expect 100%, but there's a reality where if your bioscan shows that your colon is jacked up for 17 years, that if you need 3 months worth of a different diet, you should do it because you will heal quicker. I mean, bioresonance does work, and it will open. So it's kind of like,
but it's a tool. It's like, why,
well, it's like 6 one way, half a dozen another. You sometimes, without your pathways open, you can't even imagine changing your habits. So I'm like, do it at the same time. With your habits jacked up, you can't open your pathways. So it's literally crazy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, truly speaking, if your colon energy is so low, your brain is going to be like, why would I change my diet? Because it's not even going to understand.
Yeah. So to me, the way I feel like it's just smart medicine, like, it's a smart approach. I know what you charge. If I could go back to 11 years ago, when my health started, when I know now that it began getting sticky, this is probably what I would just jump into immediately. No, you know, being 11 years into all this, maybe 12 by now. I do feel like, is it all I would have done? I don't know, never done it. But I do think that going back, this is something that if it was there for me as an option, that would have been lovely to be able to like really get my eyes on things. And also too, I don't know how other people are, but I do well when I can see what's going on in my body. And then make some changes and then do another scan. And it's like, oh my gosh, like this changed because of my efforts. Sometimes we just need to know that our efforts are doing something.
100%. And this is like where I have an interesting kind of thing. A lot of practitioners will be like, I'm the gatekeeper to the device, book with me. I'm going to heal you forever. I personally would like for people to just buy their own devices. I personally think that having this in your home is as important as a sauna. Like, true story, for a $3,000 investment, why not? I mean, so how I use it in my home now that there's really nothing acute going on besides my son's sinus allergy cavity that we're still working on, is I run my kids' DNA in it once a week. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to come in contact with environmental stressors. You can't avoid those this day and age. Like, what I don't want people to feel like is like, if I don't have one, I can't heal. That's not what I mean. But you can pay me 10 grand to keep running you for 3 months, or you can, I mean, that's not my price, but I'm saying in general, that's just a number I threw out there. Or you can eventually say, okay, I've got some cute stuff going on. Here's what would help me. And then I want to keep my family's resonance high. I mean, and a good example of why to do that. So in our lives, there are factors we can't control. I am not asking everybody to quit their jobs, sit in the sun, do all that. Like, is my lifestyle like
ask
that?
me to do it. I'll say yes.
I've already asked you. I'm saying you're open though, right? You're at the phase in your life where you're like, that's
ready to quit my job in the sun.
Like, I think, hey, we're moving toward that in the future, right? Like, I have an option for that. But you know, like, let's say you're a single mom and you can't just do that right now. You can't even imagine it, right? Okay. You don't need to change your environment to heal. You need to change your resonance. You need to change your perception of the environment. So a lot of people will say, I've got mold in my house. I need to move. You don't need to move to heal yourself. I mean, yes, you need to remediate the mold, but you need to change your resonance to where you no longer resonate with reacting to mold.
Right.
So
which is what my practitioner helps me do.
Yes, exactly. Mine too.
There's other tools.
Yeah, same. I mean, there's a lot. So it's really interesting. So that's why I recommend, like, this, in my opinion, is if you're going to go buy chickens and you're going to freak out and you're going to food prep, you might as well also buy a bioresonance device, which I happen to distribute too. So you know that.
Yeah.
But just putting that out there.
We're going to jump one more topic just for fun. So because anyone who hung in this long is probably their brain is like this, but also this is really awesome information. And so now we saved, like, maybe not like the best, but kind of like the most fun. And you and I got to actually like talk as friends and like have so much fun the other night. And we're like, oh my gosh, we need like this like girl time with all these women, because I'm always talking about heavy emotions with people and you're always dealing with heavy health stuff. It's like, we need to just be connecting over like how freaking like far have we come and how awesome are we? And like, not everything's all hard and bad. It's just usually the topics we're discussing. And you and I actually got to just be like, I don't know, normal, like fun people talking together.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're going to do right now, is this is going to be like a normal, totally fun thing, except it happens to also deal with skincare and frequency. Nice. So I have had, you know, being like a social butterfly, a natural salesperson, you know, did I already say social butterfly? Everybody all for 2 decades is like, come to my Pampered Chef party. I sell candles. You should sell candles too. I sell Mary Kay. You should sell Mary, right? Like, we all are surrounded by like all of the things, and it's fine. Like, it's fine. Yeah. You know, like that's how things get sold, is right. Like, we love something, we share it with people. It's just that I never wanted to be like I just want to like love something and tell people I love it, you know? Yeah. And so now you reached out to me and you were like, in fact, another company, you were like, Lindsay, I have to tell you about such and such. And I was like, nope. Yeah. Someone already told me about such and such. I took it for 3 months that I was told to take it. I didn't notice anything change. Love you. No. Right. Yeah. Like, don't even say what that is. If you love it, fine. It's like, and I also like cannot add one more thing to my plate of things to manage. I want you to sell the cool thing, and I'm going to send everyone to you, you know, like, so then you reached out and you were like, Lindsay, I'm
like, I think I made a mistake the first time, but I really got to tell you about this.
Like, yeah, you're like, I have
no, because I felt the same, right? Like, I was like, stepped into that, stepped back out.
if we're the same kind of people, I'm going to be honest and say like, no, thank you. But like, sure, ask me again. I don't care. So, what's her name? Hold on. I got to get Shan's Health Vibes. I have to say her here. Love her so much. If I only followed 5 accounts, I love her. And she sells this great meat box that I'm like, I don't need the meat box right now. But like I might later, but right now I don't, because I have a fridge full of beef. So like, sometimes it's like, just no, thank you, but that's lovely. So shout out to Shan's, love her. And so you were like, hey, I have to tell you about the skincare line, right? And I'm just like, God, like if one more person tells me about a skincare line, like I don't need to know about any more, because I'm a sucker. That's the problem with like, it's in my bones. It's not that I'm a salesperson. It's that like, I love women. I love connecting women with women. So naturally I'm like, this is cool. Buy this. Right. Like my daughter and I have like 3 of this one stupid natural perfume stick, because we keep selling it back and forth to each other. Like we should more. So skincare, I have plenty. I get suckered in because I'm like, oh, I can see now why this is like the best skincare line in the, I fall for it. And probably half the time it's accurate. They are using something different, or there is some new information out there. I get it. Like things are on the move, and they're on the move quickly. And I love buying Beauty Counter when it was like the cleanest on the market. I loved that. And I loved supporting my friend. I didn't need to sell it. So then you reached out about Oliveda. And I was like, but like, if Chelsea's taking the time to actually tell me, because I know you're not like trying to sell stuff to women just to like make money or whatever. No. So then you were like, it's skincare that's infused with healing energy, like frequencies. And I was like, hold on a second. I haven't heard that one yet. So let's talk about this. And then we both got really busy. And so now I finally have my first order on the way. And actually, like, I immediately was like, this is definitely something that I know I'm going to tell women about, because it's absolutely along the line of what we believe in, what we're thinking. I totally like binged their page, how they have like something hooked up to the olive trees, and you can actually like sit and meditate and listen to the sound frequency of these trees. And and the community is already just like so beautiful. And so I'm like, okay, so you got me. Congratulations. You're the first one in 20 years. And that it might not be totally 100% true, but it's pretty close. And so tell us a little bit about Oliveda. Now that we've talked so much about energy and frequency, let's discuss for a moment why this one is so set apart.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a true story. I've not yet seen a skincare company. I could be wrong, but I haven't seen one. I have seen supplement companies release skincare. So there's that, but I haven't seen a straight beauty company talk about beauty coming from the inside first and foremost push their internal product, which is one thing. I often see like 7 regimen lines and blah, blah, blah. And I personally have never in my life aligned with a skincare company, because for a while I struggled with unworthiness. I'm like, I'm not a very big skincare person. Like, I'm a minimalist. Like, I half the time don't even wear makeup. Like, I don't even have my eyebrows on, right? Like, I'm like, who does that? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, what kind of person is that? Like, I'm like, do I even know these people? So, I'm like, you know what I mean? So
I personally love that you don't have eyebrows on, by the way, and that you don't care.
I mean, because Oliveda has grown them back. I just went live in my stories about that today. I have a highlight brows. You guys can look at it. Oliveda grew my eyebrows back. I tried every single product on the market. So, oh my gosh, my computer's going to die. I need to get my computer charger. I need to text my husband. But so anyway, long story short,
we'll just make this part like this.
Oliveda came across my radar. My very, very good friend who was in Beauty Counter was like, this is so different. We vibrate with this insanely. And I was like, okay, cool. For a hot second, we had looked at another clean kind of hormone safe line. And what I do know is that if you're working in removing cellular level interference, what doesn't help you is having a million products on or bad ingredients and that kind of thing. So I was like, okay, I resonate with that. Then I figured out that they were infusing their products with the sound of the mountain olive trees. And I'm like going back into my head about how I know God is like speaking to us through his voice and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is the original medicine. Oh my God, this is so aligned. So everybody I know that believes that and that has come to that conclusion, I'm like in their DMs, like, this is crazy. You have to hear this. I also love that they had a complete education piece. So you can literally take their sound bath classes. You can listen to their olive trees every day. They are selling wearable frequency devices. They're all focused on how to raise your cellular level resonance. And their founder healed himself. He has a PDF and a book. The book's in German, but the PDF's in US. They just came into the US market. They've been in the Europe for 19 years. So they have 2 stores in Europe. That's it, that you can walk in. They wanted an internet division and they chose network marketing to do it in the US first. Behind that will be Canada, New Zealand, Australia. So I'm like, this is insane. I like get chills. So he has a PDF that's called 10 years in 14 days. And it's how he went to the mountain olive groves, rubbed olive oil on himself, took olive oil and healed his 14-year doctor pursuant journey just with the resonance of these trees. So automatically I'm like, oh, sign me up, right? Like, I'm like, this is amazing. So yeah, it was so aligned. And then I jumped in and I'm like, I can't believe how many women are joining, because on our team, it's like, nobody cares about politics. There's not an agenda. We're not being like, if you don't do this, you're a terrible person. We don't care if it's American made or blah, 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 blah. Like, we don't care. We're just like, we want high vibes. Okay. What women want high vibes? And like, there's a bunch that do.
There's a lot of women who won't have vibes. How about also one of the things that stuck out to me first is that skincare products usually use water as their first or second ingredient, which is pretty much like a standard across the board ingredient, which I even always was like, oh, it's just water. Like, same thing I'm drinking, no big deal. Can you just give us a brief understanding of how they do it differently and why?
Yeah, so Waterless Beauty, no water. They're using the hydroxytyrosol, which is the olive leaf elixir extract, and that's what's in your product. So instead of the vegetable oil or the seed oils in the water, which is typically what's emulsified, then your very small minimal ingredients in your products are next. This is like 100% a percentage, like 60% hydroxytyrosol. The products do vary based on what they are designed to do. And then the rest is like the fragrance, which comes from a pure essential oil. So typically it's lavender, peppermint, or what, it's very few. Like cinnamon, there's only 3. There's like grapefruit, peppermint, lavender, and cinnamon. And so anyway, and then they're using like 100% extracts from food. So they have a honey enzyme mask, a beet mask, a black olive mask. You guys, their skincare mask you can put on toast. It's on the label. It says you can spread this on toast and eat this. And I'm like, what? I've never seen something so clean in my life, right? Okay, and if you're the person that's like, I can make that, that's fine. I'll go get black olives. I'll go emulsify them. I'll put it on my face. Fine. But I was like,
just saying, I
would rather make money, right? I was no shame about that. I'm like, if it's safe and I can monetize it and this is going to help people, like, okay, it's time me to freak up.
Awesome. And then so I asked you directly, and in fact, one of your girls that's under you, she and I kind of ended up in touch a little bit, and she's just so neat. I forget her name right this second, but she's this late 40s, early 50s, long blonde hair, big fun glasses. Okay, she's absolutely darling. But so she was cute. She's like, I listen to the trees every day, and I was like, what? And she sent it to me, and then I was like, I want to have this on in the background during the session, so my clients are getting these frequencies. But but I asked her, I was like, let's go back. Does it work? Do you feel better? Do you look better? And she was like, oh my gosh, I just haven't gotten around to taking my after pictures yet. But like, I asked you if you've noticed a difference again.
Oh, I have. Like, I mean, for one, so I started with their internals, right? Who would I be if I didn't do that? I was like, oh yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm like, I have taken the internals for a month. Like, I do other things to keep my resonance high, but I've used so many products and I haven't seen my hair grow back like it has grown back. So that's a start. The other thing that I've seen is I used to get like cystic acne, like in my hairline, like around my like temples, like weirdly, like around the time of my ovulation, not my cycle, but my ovulation. And I no longer have that. Like, I kind of did before and afters on my page. I have a whole acne highlight. Like, I am so pumped. And I just now started experimenting with this on my kids, like them taking the internal. The other part I want to note is they have a CBD line. So they have an infused, same internals, but infused with CBD. So if you're somebody that's into also the endocannabinoid system, like, I'm like, that's amazing. So they only have 6 products for internals. Like, it's not complicated. You take the same thing. And yeah, it's just been amazing. Like I love it. My kids haven't reacted to the soap. They have a beautiful lip mask. Like we love the shampoo and the hair mask. I mean, I'm using it. It's because it's waterless. It's crazy to use because it's just this very
you probably need a tiny bit.
You just need a tiny bit, and it's a very thick, beautiful product just because it's like it's so pure. It's like using a clay mask or something. Their conditioner is like insane. I'm like, this is weird. But now that I've switched over, I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. So, and I haven't even got their whole line. I don't even have their whole line. I don't have their anti-aging stuff. I just have my order on the way for their raved about Botox in a bottle. Literally mine's on the way. Yours is on the way. I mean, there are like if you're a person who wants a regimen and who does that, like there are products for that. I just am not that person all the time. So yeah.
No. I definitely go to sleep without washing my face on a regular basis.
Yeah, but you know what got me into it too is like seeing all the teens that are sick. Like my daughter too, she has her period now. She's 15. Like it's very crazy, the onslaught attack of our hormones. And she also is one of those people who's like, I'm not taking a million things to stay healthy. I just want to get Starbucks with my friends. So I'm like, I've been on a journey to find the most minimal routine that will protect her. And, this is it. Like, I'm like, will you drink 1 cup of apple juice flavored olive oil? Okay, cool. Like put that in your body. Let's move on. So good. It's not naturally flavored. That's all the ingredient that is in the olive oil. It's olive oil, apple juice, and the hydroxy olive leaf.
Wait, you said it's naturally flavored.
It's not flavored. It's literally apple juice like that's in there. I said flavored.
You said it's not naturally flavored, which is never natural flavors. Got it. Okay, I just wanted to clarify for that one.
Yeah, it's like
your computer's about to die, and I feel like we did amazing not sticking to 10-minute things, but this was all so cool and so important, and such a wealth of knowledge. And your membership, I learned because I've heard you talk about it multiple times. I didn't know until this week after we got to speak together. It's only $21 a month, and you're somebody who even I will message and ask questions, and I won't hear from you for a while because I'm like, hey, like I only have however many followers and have a really hard time keeping up with all the questions. I would imagine it's harder for you. You have a lot more followers. You have different, business stuff going on. And so what a cool thing for me to finally understand, because I need to look and touch at things and talk privately, is like all the beautiful questions anyone might have, they can pop into your membership. $21 a month, have access to literally everything that you've ever shared ever, anywhere. And we might do a little like power hour with the girls, get connected, and
I can't wait for that.
I'm looking forward to that. So we'll make sure
we're like Bible study dropouts. Like I love
I'm a Bible study teacher dropout.
But so am I. I'm like a kids ministry dropout. That's even worse, right?
I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
No, literally joking. My membership does have this whole Jesus underlying thread, and I do believe that that's like the way, the truth, and life. But I don't really pitch that in the way of religion. But yeah, I think me and you have to collaborate on a group of women that get to meet, get to connect, show up with elevated mushroom coffee, which is like brand new. Raise our resonance. And at the same time, I always teach people like emotional work is an ongoing process, right? Most of it's just getting it out of your body. So we're not talking about something that's deep and meaningful and heavy, but I mean, if you bring that, that's fine. But something
it's not fine, actually.
God, I just want to laugh, right? I just want to crack up.
She deals with sick people all the time. I deal with sick people, emotionally heavy people all the time. These are wonderful women, powerful women. That's why they're all here doing the work, is because they're powerful. They know they're worthy. They know that it's their right and privilege to like be well. But then we're only like sitting in the heavy stuff, and it's like, wait, what if we just actually like talk about like what has God done in your life this week?
Yes.
How's your skin doing?
What did you eat for lunch?
Yeah, like how's your coffee? Wait, what's your biggest win this week as a mom? Like let's like have a place where we can actually say like, here's all the wins because of the hard work. And that right there is, he goes, you guys could call it power hour. I'm like, thanks, babe. That was really clever.
The laughter love vibration is so important to tap into. Like, I'm like, let's do that, because if you can just laugh about what is stressing you out, 90% of your problems will literally go away.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say 100%, like 100%, 90% of them.
It's true though. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So that's so cool. I'm excited. I'm so pumped to do that.
Me too. So we'll have all the links in this.
Thanks for letting me show up in my pajamas.
Are you? It looks like you were in like a really cute like swimsuit top, actually.
It's pajamas that double as like a business shirt. but I can't wear the shorts because my husband's like, yeah, your butt shows in those. Like, that's ridiculous. So I'm like, okay.
Well, good thing our butts aren't on the screen.
No, exactly. I put on bike shorts though, just in case I had to do a demonstration. See, this is what our power hour would be like, right? It would just be fun. I'm like, it is like there's too much non-fun going on in the world.
Yeah.
So we gotta make that happen. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.